Next up, we have BlueJay's The Dumbest Russian Voyage Nobody Talks About. I haven't seen BlueJay before, but he's been heavily recommended to me, and I have no idea what Russian voyage he's talking about, so we're going into this blind. I have no idea if this is good or not, but considering it was recommended to me by chat, it's probably going to cause me some level of existential dread and sit there questioning why humanity exists, because that seems to be today's entire theme. Yeah. Let's see how right I am, and hopefully not.
There are an abundance of iconic combinations out there, like spaghetti and meatballs, a sorority girl in a white Jeep, or depression and alcoholism. Really? But like US presidents and convertibles, not everything can be a match made in heaven. And as much as...
Oh, we're going there that fast. Okay.
Mother Russia would love to dominate the high seas, nearly landlocked nations and stellar navies don't exactly go hand in hand. But for all the Russian Navy's dismal, underwhelming, pathetic lack...
Wait, why did he say he was landlocked? Low population near Arctic Ocean, frozen winter, low population density on this side. In other words, they don't really have options that are actually usable. Yeah.
But for all the Russian Navy's dismal, underwhelming, pathetic lack of glory...
Is he just trying the Titanic?
...in the early 20th century, it's always important to look on the bright side. Like how it gives me good YouTube content. So in today's episode, I'm going to learn you all about the misadventures of the Russian Baltic Fleet.
What? Hi there. I'm BlueJay. Russia's kind of cool, right? That's what a trick question is.
It's the turn of the 20th
Wait,
century.
What did he say there? That was a trick question. That was a trick question. You're under arrest. My God.
It's the turn of the 20th century, and what better way to kick off a new era than
expansion?
Russia is cold, which is great for things like stopping Nazis and badass TikToks, but not ideal.
I'm sorry, what was... Average day in Russia. Sure.
But not ideal for ports. Having your port turn to ice every winter is what those of us more versed in nautical terms would call not very cash money. The Russian Empire notices China has a pretty nifty port with, get this, warm water. However, there's this pesky little thing called a border in the way. But that's okay. China isn't European. It's not a real country. So Russia takes control and gets the Qing to lease in the port. Japan doesn't like what they see.
Was this the start of the Russo-Japanese War? No, it's the Qing Dynasty. I have no idea what time this period was.
So they meet with Russia and are all like,
1800s.
Hey, vodka boy, invading China.
Wait, no, it probably was the Russo-Japanese War, yeah.
Is our thing.
A bear
but
dog?
Russia won't share, leaving diplomacy dead in the water. But that's okay. The new DLC just dropped and everyone's just itching to try out their new toys.
Machine
so
guns.
the Japanese attack Port Arthur, kicking off the Russo-Japanese War.
Oh, it actually
Fast
was.
forward a few
Shit.
battles and the Russians are losing pretty badly. So the Tsar authorizes quite the preposterous proposal of sending the Russian Baltic Fleet to reinforce the East. And you may be wondering, but BlueJay, what's so preposterous about sending reinforcements?
It's
well,
winter.
kiddo, the Baltic part of Russian Baltic Fleet means it operates in, get this, the Baltic. And as we learned earlier, boats don't like ice, so you can't go this way to Port Arthur, meaning the Tsar authorized a plan for an 18,000-mile journey around the world, which is 29,000 kilometers, or 1,140,400.
So they're going all the way around Europe, through the Straits of Gibraltar, through the Mediterranean, through what at this time period was very safe territory, right across here, through the Strait of Hormuz, which I think at this time, I don't think it was nearly as pirate infested over here as it was later. No, Hormuz is over here. I forgot which one that is. And then make it all the way up here. And I think this is right before Japan made its conquests everywhere, so it was not Japanese controlled at this time.
80,000 gumballs. The voyage was also a logistical nightmare, as the Russians didn't have any holdings in Africa or South Asia to refuel along the way. Add that to the fact that the fleet spent months at a time frozen in port, so the crew of mostly uneducated peasants couldn't tell you the difference between a bowline knot and a porcelain pot. This group of
I can't do that either.
inexperienced conscripts is put under the command of Admiral Rositsven.
It was a conscript? Oh, God. To anyone who doesn't know what a conscript is, it's basically saying, congratulations, you're now the Navy. Do not resist.
A man so prone to anger that his staff made sure to keep a large supply of binoculars at the ready due to how often he would throw them overboard. But hey, fuck it. What better way to learn than a trial by fire, right? So they set sail on their epic quest.
Did any of them actually make it?
And bring glory to the motherland. And immediately the flagship runs aground and a cruiser loses his anchor. While they waited for the flagship to refuel.
Immediately. They immediately ran. Oh, God. This isn't not being a sailor. This is not knowing how to sail.
A destroyer forgot friendly fire was on and rammed into a battleship, prompting it to return for repairs. Don't worry, men. Surely this can't be foreshadowing. As the fleet pushed on, a growing...
What?
Prompting it to return for repairs. Don't worry, a destroyer forgot friendly fire was on and rammed into a battleship, prompting...
So they ran aground, they lost an anchor, and this is immediately before the trips even really got underway. They rammed one of the other ships? I know formations are hard when you're really tight. I'm getting the impression this was not a really tight formation, they're just bad.
To return for repairs. Don't worry, men. Surely this can't be foreshadowing. As the fleet pushed on, growing hysteria spread amongst the crew. They were afraid that at any second they'd be ambushed by Japanese torpedo boats. By Denmark. This is where the war is, if you forgot. But the crewmen didn't have time to...
By Denmark. I mean, Russia might not have been the most popular, but it wasn't nearly as reviled as it came later.
Worry about things as frivolous as logic. So when two fishermen approached the fleet to deliver a message, they opened fire. The two fishermen survived the false alarm without a scratch thanks to the horrible standards of the Russian gunnery.
So the entire fleet was trigger happy, and they couldn't hit a boat. I'm not sure which is worse, that they attacked a civilian or that they're so incompetent that the civilians technically won. At what point do they just sink their own ships and call it a day because it saves time?
For their message, they informed Rear Admiral Rozhetsvensky that he had been promoted to Vice Admiral. Iron this. This wouldn't be the only false alarm, as later another ship signaled that she was under attack by 8 Japanese torpedo boats, only to find out that there were...
None?
0 Japanese torpedo boats. There
How
was
did
just
they...
nothing there.
Was it just
Having
like
survived the
foggier?
Baltic, our heroes made their way towards Britain, where they encountered a small group of fishing trawlers at Dogger Bank. But surely by now our skittish sailors...
I'm assuming they all started shooting at them as well. Are they going to have any ammunition left? Better yet, if they actually ran into someone who was running the Japanese flag, would they just surrender at this point?
Sailors have learned their lesson. Ninjas, straight this bullshit! Chaos ensued as the Russians laid down hellfire upon the unsuspecting fishermen. The Russians are going bonkers. Some run around the deck aimlessly waving cutlasses to repel imaginary boarding parties, while others just cuddle up on the deck with life jackets, accepting their demise.
Here's the thing. At this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if either of the things he just said about the people on the deck is real or not. Because this is... This is why you don't have conscripts running the ship. Gotta remind myself, I think it was World War I or World War II, where the Russian thing was, first guy goes out. When he dies, pick up his gun. We don't have enough gun for you.
Keep it up, men. These Japanese have horrendous aim, Igor. We haven't even taken a hit. But hey, at least this time we made sure they weren't fishermen first. We're shooting at fishermen, aren't we? Definitely a possibility, sir. Well, at least we didn't fire on our own ships, killing a sailor and Russian Orthodox priest.
So far, they have lost to multiple fishing vessels, unarmed fishing vessels, and friendly fired themselves an entire battleship, a sailor, and a priest. I know seppuku is more of a Japanese thing than Russian, but I think they should invest in it at this point because it seems like the safer option.
The British trawler fleet were sitting ducks as their nets in the water prevented a hasty escape, and the Russians fired at them for 20 minutes before realizing their mistake. While this sounds like the setup for a massacre, you forget our heroes are about as effective as a guy holding a fish on Tinder, sinking only 1 trawler and damaging...
Wait, people actually do that on... Okay.
Damaging 2 of their own ships. The battleship Oriole really couched Tinder, sinking only 1 trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships.
They even lost in a KD ratio. Oh, I mean, yeah, they killed one of the boats. That's people dead. But on the other hand, if they're lucky, they won't actually arrive in Japan because they can at least pretend they didn't lose as horribly as they actually did.
The battleship Oriole really captured the spirit of a TikTok pickup artist, reportedly shooting 500 shots without scoring a single hit. 2 fishermen and 2 Russians died in the mayhem, so at least
it really was
survivors
Russian
can
priest.
brag at the local pub that they tied with the Russian Navy. This event became known as the Dogger Bank incident and nearly ignited a war between Russia and Britain.
I mean, why would Britain need to fight a war against Russia? Russia's already doing the job for them. This is 1904, Baltic Fleet, Imperial Russian Navy mistook Russian trawlers for Imperial Japanese Navy torpedo boats.
The Brits just settled for revoking their access to the Suez Canal, forcing the Russians to make a slight tweak in their course.
So they're not just so their paranoia, their incredibly stupid paranoia that they could get over with, I don't know, binoculars, meant they had to go around an entire extra continent. You know, I'm going to say something that I think a lot of people are going to agree with at this point. If the Russians fighting this war are lucky, they won't get reinforcements because their guys will start firing on their own people. Like, okay, we're good. Look at all those Japanese in our base. We need to get rid of them. And then they'll probably just shoot their own guys because at this point, that's what they've done so far.
The slow, coal-powered fleet made its way towards Africa, attacking more civilians and cutting underwater telegraph cables along the way. They met up with some German supply ships to refuel due to the aforementioned lack of African.
Wait, did they actually cut them? This is one of the ways that various completely oblivious countries have decided to cut internet cables between countries right now. They send out trawlers with anchors and drag them across the seafloor where they know one of the channels at the bottom of the ocean is. China might have a bunch of ships ready to do this around Taiwan at any moment. And also Russia has been doing it around, well, actually the North Sea, exactly where we're at right now. So yeah, I'm not even sure it's a joke.
Along the way, they met up with some German supply ships to refuel due to the aforementioned lack of African holdings to make port. What nice friends, those Germans. I'm sure their relationship will last. Africa's pretty big. Almost as big as my son.
I mean, World War I nearly worked until, they got betrayed because Stalin was okay with that shit.
Self-loathing, so they took on double loads of coal and kept giant piles of the stuff just sitting on deck.
Okay, so let me get this straight. The guys who are incompetent and shoot at themselves, who ram things they shouldn't, who can't tell what they're shooting at, are putting giant heaps of coal, the thing you burn for fuel, on deck with a bunch of idiots. I mean, I'm assuming at this point, at least one of the ship burns down because of it.
Definitely the kind of thing to land you an EPA audit. But it's not like any sailors were going to die from black lung, except for the ones who did. Morale is low.
Honestly, I'm surprised they survived long enough to get black lung.
So the Russian crew decides to lift their spirits by treating themselves to the exotic pets of Madagascar. All right, men. You all can... Hey, Igor, stop
sniffing the glue. Oh my god.
Sniffing glue for a sec, buddy. You all can go to shore and pick out one thing to bring back with you. Nothing too crazy, like snakes or crocodiles.
Monkeys?
What did I say? Sir, I can explain. Watch it throw back the shot at Tito's. The ship became a floating zoo as the crew brought on a bunch of animals to roam the deck freely.
Wait, that wasn't a joke? Oh god, I thought he was making a joke. So they actually went to Madagascar and just grabbed animals? There's a line of stupid, and we are so far beyond it, I don't know how to comprehend this. This is not a military vessel. In fact, if this was a floating zoo, it would probably be safer. Not for the animals, but for everyone else.
Including a crocodile and a venomous snake, which apparently took a liking for vodka. Panic followed short.
That wasn't a joke either! They got the venomous snake drunk. And Kieran Crin mentions it's drunk sailors. Okay, yeah, never mind. This makes perfect sense.
Shortly, when the snake wrapped itself around guns and bit a commanding officer, one sailor gifted the admiral a...
I mean, I'll be completely honest with how things have been going so far. If you killed the commanding officer, it might actually improve this ability of the ship. Also, sinking it would improve the ability of the ship. Less friendly fire that way.
Parrot, which soon took after his rather extensive vocabulary of Russian curses. The flagship soon became overrun with chameleons who would frequently go missing due to their ability to seamlessly camouflage. Hey Igor, have you seen Comrade Camo? I can't find the little guy anywhere.
Oh.
No, I don't think so. Have you seen him, Private? Yeah, I don't think he's seen him either. But a good zoo isn't complete without an underwater exhibit. And luckily for them, the cooling plant on their refrigeration ship broke down, forcing them to dump all their meat into the ocean and giving them a nice following of sharks.
I thought if all your meat goes down, you just immediately cook it all and have a lot of jerky. But no, apparently not.
At one point, the fleet was holding one of many funerals for a sailor who died of illness. During the ceremony, the Kamchatka fired a gun salute. Excellent work, gentlemen. Hey, say, you boys did make sure to load blanks, right? Yes.
No. I'm sorry. They did a gun salute with actual real gun. Who did they? Oh, God, they probably. If they're just aiming out to sea, they probably aimed at people. Which of their ships were they aiming at? Oh, God.
Sir. Yeah. Igor, you're looking kind of pale there, buddy. After some more shenanigans, like foiling a mutiny and receiving a shipment of fur boots and coats.
They actually managed to foil the mutiny? I'm not sure which side is more incompetent. The people they're mutinying against because they got to that point and they deserved it, or the mutineers for being dumb enough that these guys, who we have seen are very incompetent, somehow managed to stop it. And it was the same shit that was hit earlier, Pilo? Oh, God.
Instead of ammo, Admiral Rozetsvensky...
I'm also being told by Toby Harrison, this is the abridged version. There's even more dumb shit that BlueJay is not covering.
Realized that they were approaching Japan. Oh shit, that's right, I didn't train them. So he decided to run some gunnery practice on a stationary target.
I'm sorry, they didn't know how, actually we knew they didn't know how to shoot because all their previous practice was how to not kill a target. There's so many levels of dumb right now.
Miraculously, our group of misfits managed to score a single hit.
Out
the
of
ship towing the target. But hey,
they hit the wrong ship.
Potato. At long last, the Baltic fleet closes in on Japan, approaching the Tsushima Strait during the night. The fleet extinguishes their lights to maintain stealth, all except for the Airier, which, as a hospital ship, kept them burning in accordance with the rules of war.
And if there's a hospital ship, that means there's other ships, so it's giving away the position. Also, can you imagine people actually paying attention to the rules of war? Wow, that's novel.
Airier comes upon a Japanese ship in the dark. And finally, after an extensive list of false alarms attacking fishermen and merchants alike across...
They probably didn't attack because they didn't realize it was Japanese.
Across half of the high seas, they come across an actual Japanese vessel and determine it to be Russian. So they use their lights to communicate.
So the trigger-happy idiots who shot everything they could were near Japan, knew they were going to be in conflict with Japan, were being trained to fight Japan, saw a Japanese vessel. Oh, okay, they're Russia, we're good. This is not even dumb at this point. It's like the mutiny never stopped and they just didn't realize it anymore.
Okay with it.
Hey, be careful of the other Russian vessels around me. We're sneaking up on the Japanese in the dark. Don't tell anyone.
The Battle of Tsushima ensues. Will our gallant sailors hold their own against the Japanese? The Baltic fleet was
honestly, if the Japanese took a single loss, that's on them.
Decimated. 4,000 Russians die, with an additional 7,300 taken prisoner, compared...
Wait, that many survived to be taken prisoners? Number vary depending on the source? I'll be completely honest, my biggest surprise here is that many survived the trip to die here.
to roughly 100 Japanese deaths. This effectively ended the war.
Wait, the Japanese actually took hits? Well, I mean, I guess eventually they'd have to be shooting in some correct direction. How many of those were friendly fire still? I don't know.
marking the first time in history that an
Treaty of Portsmouth. Why, yes, that is our dear Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt? Really? Okay. Not what I was expecting.
Eastern power defeated a European one. Way to go, buddy. Let's add that one to the scoreboard. Oh.
History of Western colonies up till 1905. European aggression and victories. Eastern victories. Yeah, although I think Japan's about to add a bunch and they're all going to be horrible.
Oh dear. So, in conclusion, the Russian Baltic Fleet's odyssey around the world is a tale full of shenanigans and blunders, with our troublemaking peasant crew racking up quite the body count of innocent civilians and friendlies before seeing an
And more friendlies and their own ships multiple times.
actual enemy. And yes, while they may have attacked ships from practically every global power, disabled cities' communication grids,
So they actually did. Wow, have we been using undersea cables that long? Damn.
killed fellow sailors with gross negligence of safety practices,
I'm honestly surprised that didn't light on fire. That is literally the biggest surprise so far.
nearly ignited a major European war, and were
Again.
about as accurate as Helen Keller playing laser tag. They
No, honestly, I'm going to be completely upfront here. Helen Keller playing laser tag would probably still have a better KDA ratio.
also taught a snake to drink vodka, 9 out of 10 stars.
How to start a soda company and weirdest mathematician you've never heard of. Oh, God. And Pilo, oh, God, what didn't it cover? The video didn't really convey it, but the Admiral was basically the only sane man on the ship. He didn't even touch on some of the individual It got worse. Oh, boy. So that was the pro-Russian version, in that apparently it's not as horrible as what actually happened. Yep. That is a thing. I don't know how it's a thing, but it is a thing. If you guys haven't, there's a link below to the original video. I might actually check out more of BlueJay's work, because that is actually really awesome. I love his coverage of it, but also I've never heard of this man. I'm not a huge history buff, but I do dabble in random bullshit, and this definitely counts as a lot of random bullshit. Ugh. And according to Toby Harrison in the chat, funnily enough, the parrot and the snake they trained to drink vodka survived. I mean, to be fair, they were probably more competent than the people who were manning the boat, so sure. Why not? According to Star Jumper, rumor is that after the Admiral was captured, he after the Kamchatka sank and then wept in relief. Here's the thing. I'm not sure if you meant he was crying in relief that it sank or that it didn't sink. With how this is going, I'm hoping he thought it sank, because that makes more sense. Oh, God. And Marta mentioned they started a chaos cult. No, that came a few years later, but that was a revolution. Oh, sorry, that's completely different. We also made... Casper mentioned that BlueJay also did a video on stupid nuclear invent... Oh, God. Yeah, I'm going to watch more BlueJay stuff. I'm just not sure what level of insanity we're going to get to here, because apparently there is a lot of that number. Oh, God. So if you guys haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. I'm not sure what the hell I just watched. It was interesting, but also really weird. Oh, God. And one of the uranium benches was a uranium paste. I don't even know what the paste is for. I'm honestly not sure. I want to find out. But yeah, link. Hit it up. I'll see you guys in the next one whenever we do more insanity like this. Oh, God. Adios.